Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So yesterday we studied Narada Muni chapter 29. How many verses he explains the meaning of allegory?
25.
25 verses, good. And he concludes that meaning of allegory by saying, thus the Puranjan, the living entity, for 100 years, what? What is the conclusion? The 25th verse of Narada Muni. Thus for 100 years the living entity Puranjan. What does he undergo? 100 years?
Samsara.
Huh?
Samsara.
Yes. For 100 years thus Puranjan, the living entity, suffers. Suffers in this material body. And the sufferings are imposed by the mind in the body, the nature of the mind and the body are imposed on the soul, and thus the living entity suffers. Suffers samsara basically. And thus we describe samsara. What is the samsara? Next 8 verses he describes samsara. So we discuss so many points about the samsara, right? Cyclic in nature, higher planets, middle planet, lower planets, higher species, middle species, lower species, all that. The nature of the samsara is described by Narada Muni, and also example was given. A person goes from example of samsara, like a living entity wandering. Like a dog going from household to household, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes neutral treatment, all that. So in this way, samsara of the jiva continues, is compared to the wandering of the dog, and the living entity try to find out some remedy. What is the nature of remedy? Can someone describe?
Shifting the burden from the head.
Shifting the burden or that is one. There are two things about remedies of this. Whatever remedy people try, what may happen?
Another problem. Remedy may cause another problem.
That is shifting the burden. Or
temporary.
Okay, what is the? It's temporary. So one thing is shifting the burden. Other thing is the side effect means another problem may aggravate by the side effect. Dukkha tadavi dukkham tadhyam. Right? Either it is just shifting the problem, or it could even aggravate it, not just shift it. Cause a bigger problem than the solution. The solution in this world could lead to a bigger problem. Dukkha tadavi dukkham. The side effect of the medicine sometimes cause a bigger problem than the medicine, than the disease. So those two things were also mentioned by the Narada Muni, and Prabhupada describes that in the Bhagavad. So after describing the samsara, Narada Muni describes the solution to the samsara. First he describes what solution is not. Can someone recall? So next section is what is the solution to the samsara? Can someone decide what solution is not? Wait a minute, raise your hand. Yes, Prabhu, what solution is not? Karma kanda is not the solution. What is the example given to understand that karma kanda is not the solution?
We cannot counteract with one karma kanda with another karma.
Okay. Any example for that? You cannot clean up muddy vessel with the muddy water. Is one example. Other example?
In the dream.
You cannot end up a person suffering in a dream by starting another hallucination, by another dream, going into that dream. What is the solution to the samsara? Wake that person.
Hearing.
Wake that person up. So the solution to the samsara is not the solution to samsara is not the karma kanda, because that itself is contaminated, and it is to wake the person up. Also, it is not. Someone may say, but the suffering is unreal. It's imaginary. So just coming to knowledge could end the suffering. What does Narada Muni say about that? Yes, Prabhu?
Experience is real. Suffering.
Yeah, suffering is imaginary, the cause, but experience is real. But comes to knowledge and suffering should go away. Because the person is in ignorance, bring a person to knowledge, the suffering should go away. So the Jnani say, what is the use of, you say that do bhakti. What is the point on bhakti? When coming to knowledge, the suffering can go away. What's the answer to that? Someone else, raise your hand. Yes, Sudhir Gopal Prabhu?
So, like vasana, the impressions.
Yes, the one person may come to knowledge for some time and the suffering may go away. You act on knowledge. Okay? You act on knowledge, the suffering may go away. But you can't continue to act on the platform of knowledge. Why? The impression of enjoyment, previous enjoyment, brings you down. It is a vasana. Unless the heart is purified, one cannot act on the platform of knowledge or goodness. Okay. Therefore, karma kanda is not the solution, jnana is not the solution. The only solution is bhakti to the Lord. Yeah, hearing and chanting. That bhakti begins by that bhakti. So Narada Muni says, therefore, surrender to the Supreme Lord. That is the solution of samsara. That surrender to Supreme Lord is exhibited by surrendering to spiritual master. And that surrender to spiritual master is exhibited by a hearing from spiritual master, surrendering to his Vani, Krishna Katha and instruction. What is the right attitude for hearing? Who will describe? Yes, Prabhu. Don't speak. Norm is raise your hand. Yes.
Attention and eagerness.
Yes. So therefore, one is to surrender and one is to understand the proper attitude. One should hear with attention and eagerness. And what is one more thing about hearing? One is one should hear with attention, eagerness. One more important aspect. Yes, Sudhika Prabhu.
We should not commit offenses, otherwise will drain.
Yes, one should hear attention, eagerness, and not commit offenses. And in what environment one should hear? Yes, Prabhu.
Like the zona.
That is there. That is example is given. Firm leaf cup. So one should hear with firm ear means attention, eagerness, and not draining away without offenses. What is the right environment to hear? Yes, Prabhu. In the association of devotees. Without association of devotees, the jiva will lose the inspiration to hear. Therefore, Narada Muni describes the process of samsara. What does surrender means actually? So we sometimes say surrender. It's all part of surrender. Right? All is part of surrender. All this, the right attitude, the right environment to hear. And hearing is not just hearing. Right? When we say hearing, chanting is included. Service reward is included. So the bhakti, the main limbs of bhakti are included. Okay, so all that is the process of surrender we discussed yesterday. Okay. In this way, the Narada Muni describes by surrendering to the Lord, by surrendering to spiritual master instruction, by hearing the right attitude in the right environment, one will ultimately come to know the Lord. Who can know the Lord? Again, only a devotee can know the Lord, as we discussed. None of the jnanis. So for this, Narada Muni given comparison. Who can someone recall that who can know the Lord? Only a devotee can know the Lord. Narada Muni describes the jnanis cannot know the Lord by some understanding, he explains how the Jnani cannot know the Lord. Yes, we got to.
Kimutar Nyaya.
Kamutik Nyaya. He says if great souls, great rishis, Bhrigu, Marichi, Pulasya, Vasishta, right? Even all of us, including myself, we all cannot understand the Lord completely. How can the Jnanis understand the Lord? That way. So he explained that by Kamutik Nyaya, the Jnanis cannot understand the Lord. And what about Devata worshippers? Can they understand the Lord? Devata worshippers also cannot understand the Lord. Therefore, only a devotee can know the Lord. What kind of devotee? On whom the Lord bestows His mercy. Can we understand that? When the Lord chooses a particular devotee who is actually surrendering to Him in the right way, then the Lord reveals Himself. So a devotee can know the Lord, and thus by knowing the Lord, one doesn't know samsara. Again, it's related. All the sections are related. So the Puranjan story is that of samsara. What is the nature of samsara? How to overcome samsara? By surrendering. What is the right attitude of surrender? What is the right environment to surrender? And by doing that, one can know the Lord. By knowing the Lord, there is no samsara. Who can know the Lord? Who cannot know the Lord? You see how the chapter is flowing. And thus finally he says, thus you should give up all these karmas. Basically coming that give up all these karmas because they are never the goal of life. And he says, why did they engage me? Why did these priests engage me in karma kanda? What is the answer to that?
They were less intelligent.
They were smoky intelligence. They also could not see that karma kanda is not the goal. Swarga is not the goal. What is the goal? Vaikuntha. They cannot see up to Vaikuntha. They are less intelligent or smoky intelligent. They cannot perceive beyond certain. Thus the supreme activity, this karma is not the supreme activity. What is the supreme activity? The supreme activity is, yes, it is bhakti which pleases the Lord. Varnashrama actually doesn't please the Lord, or please Him very little. Almost doesn't please the Lord, that is being said. And only by serving the Lord can the living entity experience satisfaction, because the Lord is Atma of the Atma. Right? Just like just by taking care of the body, the Atma cannot be satisfied. Similarly, the Atma will experience satisfaction by serving the Lord. That is being, therefore, supreme activities please the Lord, by which the jiva will also be experiencing great satisfaction and happiness and fearlessness. Samsara means fear. Thus the living entity will become fearful. The fearless. Thus give up your karma, engage in bhakti meant for pleasing the Lord. You will experience great satisfaction and fearlessness. Okay, then he became, detachment appeared in him. Yes. What did he, when the detachment appeared, he made some determination. Some thoughts came to his mind. Who will describe? Yes, Prabhu, what were the thoughts came to his mind?
He was thinking, let my sons come back.
Let the sons come back. Then I will hand over the kingdom. The Muni said, get out now. And he says, search out a deer. Now, who will describe the allegory of a deer? Who will describe the allegory of a deer? Someone else? Where is tiger? Where is hunter? Which side is the tiger? Which side is the hunter? Front or behind? Who is in the front? Who is behind? Hunter is in the back. A tiger represents, there are pack of tigers. They represent, what do the tiger represent?
Time.
Yes.
Time.
Time, the seconds, minutes, hours, the pack of tiger. They steal away the life. Hunter is the death. Suddenly will shot the arrow. What else? This, how is trying, this trying here, the deer. Something else about the deer allegory? Apart from the tigers and hunter? Yes?
Sound of
trying to enjoy sound of humming of the bumblebees, trying to eat the grass, nice flower garden. So like all the comforts and enjoyments of family life. But he's in a dangerous situation. Search him out and save him. And he understands that I am that deer in that situation. And thus, as we shall see, so that is another allegory described in the next section. And then Narada Muni explains the allegory. And finally, the king comes to the conclusion that I have never been told what you just told now by the priests. Therefore, I understand that even sometimes the great sages are bewildered. And we discussed that among 90 million devatas and 70 million sages, there is hardly one who is like fully dedicated to Narayana Parayana. Therefore, the great sages could also be bewildered. And Prabhupada calls, what is the word he used for the priestly activities? Priestly activities. What is the word he uses? He said, devotees do not care for dash, the priestly activities. Devotees do not care for the lifeless priestly activities. And they take to full Krishna consciousness. So Krishna conscious activities are life. And all these priestly activities are actually no life. They seem to be. But these activities, karma kanda, they are actually lifeless. Then he asks another question. Who will describe? He asks another question on the path of karma kanda. He had always a doubt. So now he is done with karma kanda, but he wants to resolve his doubt. What was his doubt on the path of karma kanda? Yes, Prabhu.
So he's asking that if we do karma kanda, what are activities now, the result will be coming in the next life.
We do activity with one body, and the action is finished long back. It is coming in next life or 10 lives, 50 lives, 100 lives down the line. What is the system? Karma is over, bodies are over. Where is this stored? And why? What is the logic of giving a person that in the some subsequent body? This is not very logical, as per King Prajin Barishar. So that is up to where we covered yesterday. Let's continue from text 60th today. Narada uvacha Yena varabhate karma Tena va mutra tatpuman Humte hi avyavadhanena Lingena manasa swayam.
The great sage Narada continued, the living entity acts in a gross body in this life. The body is forced to act by the subtle body composed of mind, intelligence and ego. After the gross body is lost, the subtle body is still there to enjoy or suffer. Thus there is no change.
Okay, Yena varabhate karma tene va mutra tattvaman. Narada says, by the body a person performed karma, the same body receives the result. He said, what are you talking of? Same body receives the results. What is that same body? The subtle body continues. Therefore, Narada Muni describes this is a subtle body, right? Which gives a continuity. Therefore, when a person performs karma, gross body is just an instrument, like a cloth, in one sense. Just like we give the example of a soul covered like clothes. Similarly, the same example can be applied to the gross and the subtle body. It's the subtle body that is acting. It's actually the subtle body that is acting. And the same subtle body receives the result. So where is the change? You say different body receives, I say the same body receives the result. Okay? So there is a continuity. Subtle body continues. The subtle body is not obstructed by the gross body, basically, Narada Muni says. Huh? So Prabhupada writes, what is the living entity? Actually, the living entity, when he is in this body, second line Prabhupada says, actually, so the living entity has two kinds of bodies, subtle and the gross. Actually, he enjoys the subtle body, which is composed of mind, intelligence, and ego. These are the three main elements. As we shall see, there are other elements of the subtle body also. We will see towards as the class goes. The gross body is the instrumental outer covering. The subtle body that is acting and enjoying. And therefore subtle body continues to reap the result. So, Prabhupada beautifully describes, sixth line, although the gross bodies apparently change, the real root of the gross body, subtle body of mind, intelligence, ego is always there. Is always there. So, Prabhupada describes subtle body as the real root of gross body. The real root of gross body, the subtle body. Okay. We go ahead. Text 61. Yeah. Read the translation.
The living entity, while dreaming, gives up the actual living body. Through the activities of his mind and intelligence, he acts in another body, either as a god or a dog. After giving up this gross body, the living entity enters either an animal body or a demigod's body on this planet or on another planet. He thus enjoys the results of the actions of his past life.
Okay, so example is given. You say, oh, the subtle body continues, but we can't perceive the subtle body. We only perceive the gross body. So how can we perceive or understand this concept? The subtle body is continuing. This is subtle body that enjoys. Now, it is very simple. See in the dream, the gross body is not acting. The subtle body continues to enjoy. Subtle body takes up a dream body described as dream body. So the subtle body, it is a subtle body that enjoys, not the gross body in one sense. The subtle body that is more important, Prabhupada writes. Okay? Therefore, even in the dream we see gross body not acting, but the subtle body is enjoying. Without the obstruction of the gross body. The gross body doesn't pose any obstruction to the enjoyment of the subtle body. The subtle body enjoying the dream, it takes up a dream body, which is like another subtle body. It takes up a dream body and enjoys. Similarly, the subtle body takes up another daydream body. It comes back to the daydream body. And the subtle body after the death will take up another daydream body. So the subtle body enjoys during the day, in the daydream body. The subtle body enjoys at night, in the night dream body. Okay, so therefore this is how Narada Muni explains. Okay. So therefore the point in Narada Muni is saying that there is a subtle body that continues, and therefore the same subtle body receives the result of karma. Now, Prabhupada also writes in the second paragraph. Thus the change of gross body is not very important, he says. Actually, in one sense, all the cells of the body change in 7 years. Scientists also say. The gross body is continuously changing. The body behind the childhood, in the youth, and now in the middle age, is not the same. Body has changed. But subtle body is continuing. So Prabhupada writes, the change of the gross body is not very important. The change of subtle body is important. Subtle body is important. Subtle body is not changing. See in the subtle body, second paragraph. The Krishna consciousness movement is educating people to enlighten the subtle body or to change the subtle body. So people have been changing their gross bodies while living at the time of death and so on. But Krishna consciousness movement is enlightening people to change the subtle body, which is important. So a nice remark over here. 62.
I am this, I am that. My duty is this, and therefore I shall do it. These are all mental impressions, and all these activities are temporary. Nonetheless, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity gets a chance to execute all his mental concoctions. Thus, he gets another body.
Okay, so the important thing is here. Now, the question is, when the karma is performed, karma is over. And one performs so many karmas in so many lifetimes. In a day, one may perform so many activities. Where are they stored? They are also stored in the subtle body in the form of all these impressions. So therefore the gross body, listen, this is very important. All the action of the gross body is continuously changing the subtle body. All the karmas actually are continuously transforming the subtle body. And whatever is the state of subtle body, finally one attains that state in the next gross body. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajante antakalevaram tam tam evedi kaunteya tad bhava bhavita. So all the actions previous and this year, this life, continuously transform and shape the subtle body. And then whatever state of subtle body is there at the time of living, that state, the gross body continues. You see the continuity over here now? Just like to get an example. I was just thinking like every ride change the rating of a Uber driver. It is not, if there is he has a rating. Every ride, if he takes care of the customer, good ride, his rating may increase, decrease, whatever. So therefore, every karma affects or shapes the subtle body. Therefore, every time actually we perform a nice service, act of devotion, every Mangal Aarti we attend with devotion, we become more Krishna conscious. And then the more we miss, we become lesser and lesser Krishna conscious. We serve selflessly, become better servants of the Lord. We act selfishly, the subtle body, all that, every act is actually shaping our subtle body continuously. And therefore, at the end, whatever state, same state, as per that state, gross body. So the gross body is shaping the subtle body, and the state of the subtle body will shape the next gross body. So that's such a beautiful Siddhartha Narad Muni is explaining over here. Yes, Prabhu. Huh? The subtle body does not change like the gross body is given up. But the subtle body is continuously being shaped. You see? The impressions are continuously shaping. It's either becoming purer, impurer, right? Either Krishna conscious or more selfish or selfless. So the subtle body is not changing. It's not like giving up this gross body and accept another body. It's not like that. Same subtle body continues, but a subtle body is being shaped or transformed by the action of the gross body. Okay.
So this subtle body,
Hmm.
so when it is divided of cross body, the subtle body will also have subtle senses.
Yes, it has. We'll study that. It has subtle senses also.
So generally, Preta body will be.
Hmm,
Man dies.
Yes.
Without completing his desires, he will become Preta. That means he will not have gross body.
Yeah.
He will have only subtle.
Subtle body.
At that time also he will have that subtle.
No, the subtle body is there, and subtle body does consist of the subtle senses also. The prana, the subtle senses, the contamination of three modes of material nature, all that is there in the subtle body.
Then only he can enjoy.
Huh?
He can enjoy.
Yeah. Then only without the gross body, the person, just like a dream, a person can enjoy. Still, a person tries to enjoy. But for the full expression of enjoyment, one needs a gross body. Therefore, the ghosts are frustrated. They try to enjoy, but they can't fully give the expression to their enjoyment. Okay? 63.
One can understand the mental or conscious position of a living entity by the activities of two kinds of senses, the knowledge acquiring senses and the executive senses. Similarly, by the mental condition or consciousness of a person, one can understand his position in the previous life.
Okay, so one's state of mind or consciousness, chittam. See, the word is used here, chittam. Now, it's described that, the antahakaran consists of mind, intelligence, false ego, and chitta means also, it's even subtler than the false ego, which is consciousness. Sometimes the consciousness is described, the consciousness is a symptom of the soul. It may not be sometimes included in the subtle body. So it's like the gross body, there is subtle body, even subtler than the soul. But between the mind, intelligence, false ego, and the soul is also consciousness. So the consciousness may sometimes be counted with the soul, but at times the consciousness is counted as a part of the subtle body. So it's subtle. So it's between the false ego and the soul, the consciousness. It's also a subtle thing. So you see, again, it's a way of counting it, basically. So Maitreya Rishi, at several places, he has described subtle body as mind, intelligence, false ego, and chitta, antahakaran. Antahakaran means chitta. And the four predominating deities, the Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Niruddha are the controlling or predominating deities of the four. The chitta, Vasudev, the false ego, Sankarshan, and Pradyumna, the intelligence, and Niruddha, the mind. So these four antahakaran are related to the Chaturvihas also. They are the predominating deities or worshipable deities. And once these four antahakaran, elements of antahakaran, are purified by worship of these four. Like that. Okay, so therefore chitta. So once chitta, see, now what happens is, by saying mind, the entire chitta will be indicated. Because mind is the main element. Or sometimes by saying consciousness, the other three will be indicated. Remember that. They are quite interrelated. By saying one, the others are indicated. So, Cheto Darpan Marjanam. In Prabhupada's purport, you will find clear the mirror of the mind, clear the mirror of consciousness. And another place in Puranjan's story only, Prabhupada says, clear the mirror of intelligence. I have seen all the three statements for Cheto Darpan Marjanam. Because they are all antahakaran, the entire antahakaran has to be cleansed. By indicating one, you indicate the others. Fine? So therefore, that is being said over here, that once consciousness, when we say consciousness, you can understand we are talking of subtle body in general. Yatha anumiyate chittam, the word chitta is used, the consciousness here in 63. So what is saying is, Narada Muni, by seeing the activity of the senses, one can understand the consciousness. Okay? You see what you can perceive. You can perceive the person's actions. थोड़ा इसको खोल दीजिए, अभी तो वो भी थोड़ा कर्टन वगैरह खोल दीजिए, some air movement will happen. Carefully. Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. Yeah. So from one can perceive the actions of the Gyanendriya and Karmendriya, right? One can perceive the action. By seeing the action, one can understand the consciousness of a person. Like a person is, striving hard to earn money and more money and exploiting others. You can understand the consciousness. The person is very greedy and cruel, insensitive, giving pain to others to earn money. So by seeing the actions, you understand the consciousness of a person. And by seeing the consciousness, what is the person's, now so you understand the consciousness, by seeing the activity, this is the consciousness. By understanding the consciousness, you can understand previous activities. But previous activities shape the consciousness, and the consciousness leads to the current activity. Again, just like I said, the gross body, the action of the gross body shape the subtle body, and the subtle body gives rise to next gross body. And the activity of the gross body shape the subtle body. So therefore, one's consciousness or one's are directly correlated with one's actions. One state of mind, which is consciousness, subtle body basically, is directly related with one's action. So see the action, you understand the consciousness, and from consciousness in present life, you can understand previous activities also. They are correlated. That is what Narad Muni is saying over here. Prabhupada gives a beautiful example. He says how one's consciousness and actions are correlated. He says if one has an angry consciousness, one is very angry, a lot of passion, the consciousness is filled with anger and passion. What will a person do? He will speak harsh words. But if the consciousness is now, compare the two, here is passionate, angry consciousness, here is Krishna consciousness. What will a person speak? Rude words. What will a person speak? The Mahamantra. What will this person do with the hand? Punch. What will this person do with the hand? Raise the hand in a call out to the Lord. What this person do with the leg? Kick someone. What will this person do? Dance in Kirtan. With the same legs. Prabhupada compares just a change of consciousness. The hands are acting differently, the legs are differently, the tongue is pronouncing differently. So, therefore, by you see the actions, you understand the consciousness. From the consciousness, also understand the previous actions. So, in the purport, Prabhupada beautifully describes the two kinds of consciousness, the angry consciousness and the Krishna consciousness, and compares the activity of the senses.
Sometimes we suddenly experience something that was never experienced in the present body by sight or hearing. Sometimes we see such things suddenly in dreams.
Okay, so now the question will be raised, Narad Muni described the continuation of the subtle body. The gross body is destroyed. So how do we understand that with the destruction of gross body, the subtle body is not destroyed? Gross body is destroyed actually. The subtle body is not destroyed. So how do we understand? Again, some logic. You see, the Narad Muni explains with great logic. He says, in this life, we suddenly experience things that we have not experienced in this body, present body. We may experience, visiting some place, some very in the dream which you have never seen in this life. We may meet some person in the dream we have never met in this life. It happens. So therefore, we may experience certain things in this life which we have not experienced in this body, Narada Muni is saying that is the one logical and the proof that how these things were actually experienced in previous lives. Therefore, we are seeing those in this life, either in dreams or some kind of imagination. We are able to imagine or dream of certain things, this life which we have not experienced in this body, but they are experience of previous bodies, previous gross body, but the same subtle body as the whole thing. And Prabhupada says, Prabhupada is another nice example. He says, sometimes we say, here is a born poet. In this lifetime, this fellow has never been taught poem by anyone. Born musician. किसने सिखाया इसको music? No one taught. Child grows up a little bit, picks up something and starts playing. And Prabhupada used to say, born fool and rascal. He's carrying that from the previous life. He was a fool and rascal previously and now born. So like that. So born scientist, born this thing, not taught in this life, previous life. So therefore this is the proof that how the subtle body continues. And thus Prabhupada concludes by saying, this he concludes in so many purports, 64 last 3 lines. If we rigidly follow the principles of meditation on Krishna, there is no doubt that in our next life we will be transferred to Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavan. Thus, so the Krishna consciousness or practice of Krishna consciousness is shaping or transforming our subtle body basically. Remember that. And when we are ready, when the subtle body has been purified of the contamination and transformed into a first-class servant of the Lord, when we give up all the offensive mentality, when the subtle body is freed from all the anarthas, all the offensive mentality, and is situated with the pure desire to serve the Lord, and then immediately one attains the spiritual body. 65.
Therefore, my dear king, the living entity who has a subtle mental covering develops all kinds of thoughts and images because of his previous body. Take this from me as certain. There is no possibility of correcting anything mentally without having perceived it in the previous body.
So now Prabhupada has used the word mental concoction so many times. Where is this mental concoction coming from? So very important Siddhant again, it is not possible for anything to appear in the mind which has not been experienced in previous lifetimes. So all the concoctions are actually impressions of previous lifetimes. So one cannot think of anything, one cannot conceive, the mind cannot project anything which the mind has not experienced in previous lifetime. So all the concoction of the mind also show that one has experienced all this previously. Narada Muni says, have faith and believe in me, Narada Muni says. Shraddhasva ananubhutortho na manas prashnamarhati. There is no possibility of concocting anything without having perceived. Here means experience in the previous body. Okay. 66.
O king, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with his association with material nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in his past life, as well as what kind of body he will have in the future. Thus, the mind indicates the past and future bodies.
Okay, what does mind here means in the broader sense? Subtle body. The mind is, just by saying mind, subtle body is indicated. I already told you this Siddhant is there everywhere in the Bhagavatam. By saying the mind, the entire subtle body is indicated. Most of the other time the chitta may be spoken of. Other time. Now it's not that every place by saying one element all will be indicated, but in many places. Because the mind, especially mind, because mind is the main element of subtle body. Of all the 4 elements of Antakaran, mind is the chief. Thus, the subtle body or the mind here, mind indicates one's, the state of mind indicates one's past forms, and past gross body. It indicates one's future forms, and it may also indicate no form. No form means here that one may not take any form in the future. Or it may indicate a certain state of the mind may also indicate one's eternal form in the future. So the state of the mind indicates past form, future form in this material world, or eternal form in the spiritual world. These 3. So man eva manushasya purva rupani, previous, bhavishyata, and tathaiva na bhavishyata. One will not take any future form but attain eternal form. So in these 3 lines, 2, 3 and 4, the state of the mind indicates these 3 kinds of forms. Yes.
If mind is the prominent one, then why intelligence is higher than the mind?
Mind is prominent one, why intelligence higher than the mind? Intelligence has the ability to control the mind, has the ability, but the mind is very strong and overriding. Just like, to give one example, the householders can relate. Sometimes it is said that the husband is superior to the wife, but the wife may sometimes be very strong, and she takes all the decisions. This happens many times. Right? She overpowers the husband, and the husband becomes henpecked. Right? So this is one example to understand that theoretically, there is husband intelligence is described superior. Intelligence has the ability to direct the mind, but the mind has hijacked everything else. The mind is so powerful element. So as such, constitutionally, the intelligence is made in such a way, constitutionally superior, but functionally, or actually, the mind overrides.
Like president and prime minister.
Yeah, something. Yeah, president is constitutional higher than prime minister, but prime minister is acting. He has all the power. Something like that. Okay. '67.
Sometimes in a dream, we see something.
I think we already done that. Huh? 67 is done. Oh no.
67.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, it says that the mind state of the mind indicates the 3 kind of forms. Now read 67. Not that.
So sometimes in a dream, we see something never experienced or heard of in this life, but all these incidents have been experienced at different times, in different places and in different conditions.
Okay, so now another thing. One thing is whatever we see in the dream or we imagine is previously experienced. But what the mind may say, but the mind may sometimes make us see something or imagine something we do not exist only. Suppose someone thinks he is flying on a horse. So we never hear of the flying horse. There's a horse is there, and there are other yans which fly, other vehicles. One don't see a flying horse, never experience. So they said that the mind combines the impression. The mind, we have experienced flying in the body of the bird or whatever, and we have experienced horse riding. So the mind may combine the two. So therefore, many impressions experienced at different times in different space may be combined by the mind also. Right? So Narad Muni is describing how the mind is the storehouse of all impressions. Or Prabhupada he has used the word stockpile. Mind is a stockpile of all the previous impression. And so many things are stocked up and things may just randomly combine from the stockpile. Mind may create some other fresh impressions. Like, yes.
Mind is considered as a mixing of two elements, and it cannot be used as the argument that.
No, the impressions may mix up. The impressions mind is having, they may just mix up. Mind is a stockpile of all the previous impressions. And they may just mix up. Right? Not the mind is a mixture of elements. Mind is an element in itself, but the impressions on the mind may mix up. Right? Does it answer your question or?
Here the argument is like because we have seen that anything in past, that's why mind is actually kind of sometimes we see it as a dream or like mind is but if mind is considered as a mixing of two things, and that those two things can be belong from the past life also. So where the impression from previous lives comes.
So whatever mind is mixing, it may mix a separate experience of any life, not just past life, any of the past lives. Right? Yeah.
Not only merging past lives also, say suppose if we might have taken in the earlier life Gandharva's body or higher planet's body, so that will be stored. So
Those impressions.
not those impressions. But in the dreams we may get sometimes we are flying in the hearts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So all those all the permutation or combination of all the previous impressions in previous lifetime may combine and then we may dream of that.
Why the dream is coming there? The daydream is okay, we are exhibiting interesting.
Yeah.
The night dream.
Because the subtle body doesn't sleep. Subtle body is still active in the dream state. So there are 3 stages. We are awake. While awake, we are anyway dreaming in spiritual life is another thing, but there are 3 states: awake, dream, and deep sleep. In deep sleep, one doesn't dream. That's another state of deep sleep. When there is no dreams also, that is a state of deep sleep. But in semi-sleep, when the person is not deeply sleeping, that time there are dreams, where the subtle body is active. And the subtle body continues to enjoy, it's active. The mind wants to experience and enjoy.
Are we exhausting our karma by doing the dream?
No, not exactly. The karmas are not exhausted by in the dreams. Karmas are exhausted. Well, I haven't heard the exhausting of karma in the dreams. Yeah.
Prabhupada written somewhere.
Desire.
Yeah.
Some desires are fulfilled.
Yeah, Prabhupada written one of the purports. Prabhupada written one of the purport that because the devotee not get to get the another gross body, so Krishna fulfilled his desire in the dream. That I understand something like, where is that? Let's see, let's read that. I think it's one of the, it's in the next purport only. It's in the next purport only. So let's read the next verse and the next purport. Okay? Okay.
68.
68. 69 purport Prabhupada says that. 68.
The mind of the living entity continues to exist in various gross bodies, and according to one's desires for sense gratification, the mind records different thoughts. In the mind, these appear together in different combinations. Therefore, these images sometimes appear as things never seen or never heard before.
So we already saw that how the mind records all the thoughts and the mind may combine. But another thing mentioned here is all the experience of the senses are recorded in the mind in the sequence, the way they are experienced in journal. Right? So usually the experience of the senses are recorded in the mind, right? The knowledge and the working senses. Like through the tongue we enjoyed something, that is recorded. Disliked something, that is recorded. All that. So all the experience of the senses are recorded in the mind in a particular sequence. They come and go in a particular sequence. That is being mentioned. 68. That is the 68. 69. Yeah. Wait. Just note down your question somewhere. Let's complete the question proof raised. 69, and then there is a purport point. We'll complete that and then take a question. Read further.
Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon.
Okay, so the impressions, now, the come and the go in a particular sequence. Right? He said, but sometime, on some occasion, which are not frequent, when the mind is in Shuddha Sattva, that means with the Lord, when the mind is Krishna conscious. Sometimes your mind is situated, we are fully Krishna conscious, we are not in any material thought. By the mercy of the Lord, one can observe the whole universe or sum total of all one's previous impressions. At one point of time one may experience. At one point of time all the impressions. Just like Mother Yashoda experience, like we can experience this universe one place after another. Is it not? But we can't experience the whole universe at one place. We are limited. Similarly, we experience one impression, another impression. We don't experience like one place, another place. But Mother Yashoda saw the entire universe at one point of time, at one time and in one space, in a small space. Similarly, by the mercy of the Lord, a devotee may observe the sum total of all previous impressions, conditioned life, simultaneously at one point of time. Now we have no experience of that, but this may happen. Example is given. Okay? So, and this is a rare occurrence. This is not a frequent occurrence. Fine. So this example is being given, and then Prabhupada writes, here Prabhupada writes, in this regard, see the third paragraph, 6th line. In this regard, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur cites the example of Mother Yashoda seeing the whole cosmic manifestation within the mouth of Krishna. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Mother Yashoda saw all the universes and planets within the mouth of Krishna, which is very rare. It's very rare. Like we experience some places in this life only within this short, small universe. We can't experience other universes. We have experienced other universes, in some other lives and so on and so forth. But here our experience is limited. But by the grace of Lord, Mother Yashoda saw the whole universe or different universes within the mouth of Krishna, within his belly. Similarly, now here is the important point. Similarly, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, a Krishna conscious person can see all his dormant desires at one time and finish all his future transmigrations. Okay? Basically, one may see and then one may see the futility of it. Right? one may see the futility of it. Like Prabhupada also once expressed, now I have seen everything. Now I have seen the entire naked reality of material nature. Right, done with all that. So all that. So like that, one may just see everything of previous dormant desires, all the frustration of each desire, and so on and so forth, and then done with all that. Okay, so that is, and then further Prabhupada writes, why we see things not experienced in this life is explained herein. That we see is the future expression of a gross body. That which we see is the future expression of the gross body, or is already stockpiled in our mental stockpile. Because a Krishna conscious person does not have to accept a future gross body, his recorded desires are fulfilled in a dream. This is quite insightful, or it's not easily understood line as such. Yeah. So basically here what I understand is, see, when a person is Krishna conscious here means a person not fully Krishna conscious, first of all. Still, and still there could be some dormant desires. But one may just experience that and the frustration of that, rather than having another gross body, right? One may just experience those desires and the frustration of it in the dream itself. In the dream itself. That way. Or within this life only Krishna may do that. Basically, so that devotee doesn't have to experience the next gross body. Therefore, within this life only, the Krishna may show him or fulfill in some way and show the futility of all material desires. So that's how it is to be understood. So whether in a dream or a daydream, either way, right, Krishna may just complete the fulfillment, would mean the experience of those desires and the futility of those desires, both. There are any material desires. Okay. Yes, Prabhu, any questions?
Question. The mind is the index of information about one's past and future lives. So why the memory is wiped?
Why the memory is wiped? Memory is not completely wiped. Memory is there, and Krishna reminds us, right? Even suitably. Right? Prabhupada says that super soul reminds us at the right point of time. This is your previous desire, now you can act as per that. Right? So it's not completely wiped, but yes, it's covered over. A lot of memory is covered over. That is to facilitate the current life. If all the impressions is like today I experience something very bitter. If that impression continues and is not covered over, then I cannot live properly. After we sleep, then after resting, the previous negative experience, the previous they are covered over. It's not that the memory is wiped out; it's covered over. But it may come up even 20 years down the line at times. When similarly someone acts, you may say, you did that to me even 20 years back. You may surface up, but it gets covered over. So Vismriti also comes from Krishna, and that is so the living entity can live the life without being burdened by all the impressions. They are covered over. Yes. Right.
Apart from as part of personal application, if you have some desire, you can pay to know that. Just give me a drink so that I don't waste my time.
You pray that give him a dream. Again, pray for the removal of that desire. And leave up to Krishna how he wants to do that. Krishna knows the best way to do that. If we have some desire, of course, if we have a desire to serve Krishna, then we can request him, please allow me, right, that I can serve you in this way, sing appropriate, if it's not going to obstruction. But with a harmful desire for Krishna conscious, which I know this is not a harmful desire, then pray for its removal. And then Krishna will remove it, whether we may have to take the body, another body, like that of a deer, and Jada Bharat. But then, important thing is, even when he had to take another body, his Krishna consciousness was enhanced. He associated with the sages and through separation. So probably if Bharat Maharaj would not have met the deer, his attainment way in perfection may not be the same as attainment in perfection of Jada Bharat. So you see the point. So therefore, even though he underwent another birth, his Krishna consciousness was enhanced. Therefore, his attainment, spiritual attainment will also be more exalted. So understand, that will leave up to Krishna. We should, how he wants to do that.
Prji, sir, this is all happening by the mercy of the Lord, right?
Yeah, it's all by the mercy of the Lord.
So, and but in the, you said this is not a fully Krishna conscious, he's not.
It's not that Krishna gives mercy only to fully Krishna conscious person.
But there's always a
all sadhakas also receive mercy of the Lord to progress in their sadhana.
In the third canto, we see that this forgetfulness is given by the Lord just so that the living entity is not bewildered by his past thoughts. So there's always a chance for, it's not always one can go up, he can also get bewildered and fall down. Right?
That's happened to Jada Bharat. He fell down in the deer's body. Yeah.
But there's always a chance that one can.
No, but his consciousness continued to be elevated. So therefore, in the deer body, his consciousness did not degrade. There was some small mishap, but in the deer body, Krishna gave the remembrance. Therefore, he continued as with sages. So even in the deer body, he continued to make some spiritual progress. And then final ultimate attainment in Jada Bharat's body.
So this remembrance is given to someone who is quite advanced. It's not someone, not any.
Well, even for the dormant desires in the right time, Krishna gives remembrance to different living entities in different ways. Right? So Krishna is reciprocating with every living entity. Krishna is merciful to all living entities and helping them to go to the next stage, basically. Helping everyone to progress depending on what stage they are in. Text 70.
As long as there exists the subtle material body composed of intelligence, mind, senses, sense objects, and the reactions of the material qualities, the consciousness of false identification and its relative objective, the gross body, exists as well.
Okay, so basically, as long as the subtle body continues, one will also continue the gross body. Here means one may give up one, but take another. So this will continue as long as there is the subtle body remains, the subtle body continue to take the gross body. But when the subtle body is destroyed, then one will stop taking further gross bodies. What was the meaning of destruction of subtle body in one sense? So destruction of subtle body means destruction of all the contamination of subtle body, basically. And like Lord Brahma, he became attracted towards Vak, his own daughter, and said he gave up the body. And it's described, gave up the body means gave up that contaminated mentality that had become a part of the subtle body. So giving up the subtle body, one gives up the subtle body means one gives up all the contamination of the subtle body. And now the original pure subtle body manifests, which is actually a subtle spiritual. So when the subtle body is spiritualized, the contamination is given up, and that subtle spiritualized body then give rise to another spiritual body which associated with the Lord. So our subtle body is spiritualized in this mortal world, and then it fully manifests into a spiritual form. Subtle body only gives rise to next gross body. So when the subtle body is spiritualized, one attains spiritual form. Fine? Note down the question. Go ahead, read the translation.
When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faints, when there is some great shock on account of severe loss, at the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the movement of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self.
Okay, so now the question is, he said, okay, we see that the gross body are created and they are destroyed and subtle body remains. Similarly, we also see when the gross body is existing, probably is the subtle body may not be functioning, we see, but the gross body is there. Is there a destruction of subtle body while the gross body is there? This is like a question. It's like we see the gross body being created and destroyed while the subtle body continues to exist. Similarly, while the gross body is existing, we see a destruction of subtle body. When? Deep sleep. Gross body is there, but subtle body is not there. Subtle body is not acting at all. Deep sleep means the mind is not acting, intelligence is not anything planning. There is no identification with the gross body that point of time. So it looks like the subtle body is destroyed. Or one experiences a shock. All the memory is lost. All intelligence is lost. Vismriti total. Is not that a destruction of subtle body in a shock? Right? So one may ask a question. We see a destruction of subtle body in the present gross body. Right? So that is being answered as a no. The subtle body continues to exist. Even if the subtle body is inactive or inert, is not acting, or even if the subtle body becomes invisible sometimes, but actually the subtle body is not destroyed. There is no destruction of the subtle body actually, even during deep sleep or during the shock. So it may become inert, or it may not be visible, it may not be active, it may not be acting. Subtle body sometimes may not be acting, and the gross body is still there. But that doesn't mean the subtle body is destroyed, the jiva is liberated. The subtle body continues, the subtle body is there. Example will be shown, example will be shown just like a child. Now the child has a subtle body, the child may not manifest any sex desire, a child may not manifest greed by showing ambition, right, to be a great businessman. So that subtle body which has the lust, greed, anger and so on and so forth, it's inert yet, but it is there. At the right point it will manifest. Right? So therefore it's invisible. When the child is very small, within the womb, or when a child is small, his subtle body, the impression of subtle body doesn't manifest. They remain inert or invisible, but it is there. Similarly, in any situation, it may look like subtle body is destroyed, or one is purified, etc., etc. But no, that is there. Like when a person comes to Krishna consciousness, first 1 or 2 years, that person experiences great joy in bhakti and forgets all material desires and only want to serve. First 1 or 2 years. And person feels, I have almost become a pure devotee. Because in the association, the anarthas haven't got the opportunity to manifest. But all those are existing. And when we spend some time, then those all manifest. When we settle in, and when we gain some power, some position, familiarity, and so on and so forth. So the subtle body, at times, is active, inert, invisible, And it looks like the subtle body is destroyed or one is fully purified, but no, it continues, right? So therefore, one may think, oh, this person under a shock, all his memory, everything cleared up. Now this person become pure, contaminated subtle body. No, the impressions are there. Those impressions are there, the contamination is still there. Samsara is not destroyed. Okay, 72.
When one is a youth, all the 10 senses and the mind are completely visible. However, in the mother's womb or in the boyhood state, the sense organs and the mind remain covered, just as the full moon is covered by the darkness of the dark moon night.
Another analogy, Amavasya, no moon visible, invisible. The moon is there. So sometimes the subtle body is not visible in its actions, at times, in its activities, but is there. 73.
When the living entity dreams, the sense objects are not actually present. However, because one has associated with the sense objects, they become manifest. Similarly, the living entity with undeveloped senses does not cease to exist materially, even though he may not be exactly in the contact with the sense objects.
Anyway, another example is given. He said one can enjoy the sense objects even when they are not present in the dream. This is not, sense objects are not present in the dream physically, but one can still enjoy. Through how? Impressions. To the mind. The mind has impressions. The mind can still enjoy without the objects being present. Therefore, this shows, thus the subtle body may be inert or invisible, just like the sense objects are not there. So the subtle body may be inert or invisible, but those impressions are there on the subtle body. The impressions do not go away. When the subtle body is not acting, the impressions are still there. Therefore, the whole point is, even when the living entity goes inside the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, when the Brahmaji sleeps at night, right? Then the subtle body is not acting. But still, subtle body carries the impressions. Subtle body carries the impression. So therefore, the gross expression may be there, may not be there. But the subtle impressions on the subtle body are always there and they continue. And how are those impressions replaced? By bhakti impressions, basically. Okay? Gradually, these impressions on the subtle body will fade away, this previous impression, and will be replaced by the bhakti impressions. And then one is purified. Just like there is a coating. If there is a blue coating, then you put some other color coat. The blue is still visible. Put another coat, fades. Another coat. After 3 coats, kind of, then it's still maybe few tinges are visible like that, so on and so forth. So therefore, the bhakti impressions will gradually fade away the previous impressions. And only when the bhakti impressions are there and the previous impressions are completely gone, faded away, purified, then one attains one spiritual form. So, yes. So all this, Narada Muni has very brilliantly given the understanding and connection between the gross body, subtle body, the impressions, the transmigration. So, quite a genius of Narada Muni to describe all of this. So many examples. 73? Done. 73 is done, no?
Yes.
Yeah, 73 is done. 74?
The 5 sense objects, the 5 sense organs, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and the mind are the 16 material expansions. These combine with the living entity and are influenced by the 3 modes of material nature. Thus, the existence of the conditioned soul is understood.
Okay, conditioned soul, the continuity, there is a continuity. He said, the living entities evam panchavidham lingam. The subtle form of the jiva, the conditioned living entity carries all of these things. Right? The 5 pranas also go. The pranas take the soul from one destination to another. The pranavayu goes along with the subtle body. So the subtle body, the conditioned living entities, so the gross body is given up, but the pranas continue. The subtle senses, now the gross organs are given. You say the eyes ball will be here, but the chakshu, this is called aksha in Sanskrit. Aksha means the gross eyeball, but the power to see is called chakshu. So that carries the impression of what we all have seen in the mind and the chakshu. Chakshu goes. The subtle sense. So behind each gross sense is a subtle sense. That also go along with the mind. The mind is the master of the senses. The prana, the subtle senses, the 3 more, the material nature, all these go along with the soul to the next destination, and thus the conditioned journey continues. '75.
By virtue of the processes of the subtle body, the living entity develops and gives up gross bodies. This is known as the transmigration of the soul. Thus, the soul becomes subjected to different types of so-called enjoyment, lamentation, fear, happiness, and unhappiness.
Yeah. Okay, the samsara continues through the subtle body, and jiva experience various kind of emotions. Continue.
The caterpillar transports itself from one leaf to another by capturing one leaf before giving up the other. Similarly, according to his previous work, the living entity must capture another body before giving up the one he has. This is because the mind is the reservoir of all kinds of desires.
Okay, so once one cannot give up this gross body in general before one has already created another gross body through one's subtle body. So there is a continuation that has been described. When one gives up this body, the other gross body one has already created through one's all the impressions and all that. And it's just question of, one described that one takes some certain, there is a transition phase, Pret Sharir and all that. But the subtle body creates next gross body and then gives up the previous gross body. That is being explained through this analogy. Caterpillar gives up the leaf, they go to the next leaf. So the continuation of samsara is being indicated over here. Go ahead, 78.
As long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, we create material activities. When the living entity acts in the material field, he enjoys the senses, and while enjoying the senses, he creates another series of material activities. In this way, the living entity becomes entrapped as a conditioned soul.
Thus, the subtle body or the mind is the cause of samsara, basically. So, so yeah, 78 just describes how mind is the cause of samsara. One meditates on the object of enjoyment and they further increase the ignorance of the jiva, the ignorance of the mind. So the enjoyment which puts the mind in further ignorance is leads to the continuation of samsara over here. That is been described. We already discussed. This is now just concluding. 79.
You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord.
Okay, so now we conclude. Therefore, he has clearly described the samsara and given the solution. But then he asks another question of how the one suffer the karma, previous life and next life. So Narada Muni elaborately described and finally concludes, thus one can become free from all this samsara by worshipping the Lord. Therefore you should, O king, worship the Lord. Bhaj sarvatmana harim. What he previously gave the conclusion, he is repeating after another analysis of gross body and the subtle body. Engage in the worship of the Lord, basically. And you will be freed from this samsara, which is continued by the subtle body who is steeped in the ignorance. Text 80.
The great sage Maitreya continued, the supreme devotee, the great saint Narada thus explained to King Prachinbari the constitutional position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity. After giving an invitation to the king, Narada Muni left to return to Siddhaloka.
Okay, thus Narada enlightened the king and then Narada left for Siddhaloka. Further,
In the presence of his ministers, the saintly King Prachinbari left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapilashram.
okay, so now being further inspired by Narada Muni, he left the home and just left the message for his son. When they return, ask them to do their duties, this, take care of the kingdom, etc. But he left without waiting for them to even return back. That's the power of Narada Muni's preaching. Okay. And thus he went to Kapil Ashram and performed devotional service. Read further.
Having undergone austerities and penances at Kapilashrama, King Prachinabharhi attained full liberation from all material designations. He constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and attained a spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, so thus engaged in bhakti as directed by Narada Muni, he attained Sarupya, King Prachani Parishad. He attained Sarupya Mukti in the spiritual abode, in the Vaikuntha world. 83.
My dear Vidura, one who hears this narration concerning the understanding of the living entity's spiritual existence as described by the great sage Narada, or who relates it to others, will be liberated from the bodily conception of life.
Okay, so thus the whole thing Narada Muni described that the bondage is caused by subtle body. So one who hears and narrates this narration will become free from the subtle body. Basically, this person will begin from the bondage of the subtle body. The bondage of the subtle body. So just hearing this narration has so much potency. The main cause of bondage, the subtle body, as another than Narada Muni, one will be freed. Yes. Read the further translation or just read the further translation.
This narration spoken by the great sage Narada is full of the transcendental fame of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, this narration, when described, certainly sanctifies this material world. It purifies the heart of the living entity and helps him attain his spiritual identity. One who relates this transcendental narration will be liberated from all material bondage and will no longer have to wander within this material world.
This narration, the Falashruti is being given. This narration purifies the heart, help us to attain our spiritual identity, Atma Shaucham, and thus will be freed from all bondage and attain our spiritual position just by hearing this narration. The last verse of this chapter.
The allegory of King Puranjana, described herein according to authority, was heard by me from my spiritual master, and it is full of spiritual knowledge. If one can understand the purpose of this allegory, he will certainly be relieved from the bodily conception and will clearly understand life after death. Although one may not understand what transmigration of the soul actually is, one can fully understand it by studying this narration.
Yeah. Thus, he gives the precedence. Maitreya Rishi, that I have narrated to you, which I heard from my spiritual master. Who is the spiritual master? Maitreya's. Maitreya's spiritual master. Who is the spiritual master of Maitreya? Huh? When Krishna was speaking to Uddhava, he heard from him certain important instruction, but otherwise he was a disciple of Brahaspati, and also he was a student of Vyasadev's father. Who was that? Parashara Muni. In this way, he heard from one of them this understanding, this knowledge, and thus he told, I am narrating you this. Yeah. And what does it say? Thus I have narrated this to you. One will completely understand the transmigration of the soul and be free from the bondage by hearing this narration. Okay, so this chapter ends over here. There are some additional verses given by Vijay Dhajpir, quoted by Prabhupada. You can read it. I leave that up to you. So now we continue chapter 30. We have 2 more classes and we have 2 chapters to complete. And 31 is a smaller chapter, 30 chapter is slightly bigger. But yes, in today half an hour we'll cover some verses. Tomorrow we will almost complete chapter 30th. If not, something may remain. But day after tomorrow we'll be able to complete it. So we have 2 classes and another half an hour for today. So it's doable. This chapter was really long, 29. This chapter was really long. Okay, any questions before we start chapter 30th? Yes, Prabhu.
I just want to understand this, the shaping of the mind and shaping of the body. So based on our previous plan, we are getting this body, and we are acting under the guidance of Krishna Super Soul. But because this our new desires is shaping up our certain body, right?
Yeah, everything, our desires and our activities both are shaping our subtle body.
Currently we are acting because of previous desire, we are acting.
Currently we are acting because of previous desires, and currently we are also acting as per our current desires. Because now we have made a choice of free will, that let me act as per the instruction of Guru, Sadhu and scriptures. That is the turning point. See, we do not just act as per our desires. I may still desire, as per my previous impression, to do some sinful activities. We don't act as per them. So how the change takes place? Now, because by not misusing but by rightly using my free will, I act as per the desire of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, as per their instruction. And that's changed the whole game. Yes, so therefore my current activities will shape my subtle body. It will, by acting also, our desires are also being purified. So, and shaping our activities, shaping our current subtle body. And that will determine the next body. Right? Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
This point that is mentioned is that Prji will attain the spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of Supreme. So where did he go, any destination also?
No, but it's mentioned so he attained Sarupya in Vaikuntha world.
So if he attains, then all the 5 are attained because he goes to the Vaikuntha, that is Sarupya also.
It looks like there is some Shalokya, Sarshti, Samipya, Sarupya, Ekattam Apyuta. Shalokya, one may attain the Lord's planet but not attain his personal service. time. There are other people who do not, like Shanta, who don't attend personal service. So, therefore, there are certain distinctions between these. Yeah? So, okay, everyone attained the planet, but it's not that everyone attained the same situation. It looks like Prabhupada says that everyone will be in the same building, but they still have different, they say they attend this particular.
Like a jail.
Huh?
Like a jail. Maybe
Yeah, in the jail also everyone's position not the same. Similarly, everyone in the parliament position is not the same. So everyone attained the spiritual world, but still there are certain differences. Fine. So, yeah, including personal surveys, including certain opulences, and yes, though one has, I said that everyone is having four-handed form, but they could be even more closely resembling the Lord. So there are some subtle spiritual differences between the four kinds of liberations. The next one may have the previous one. The same kind of opulence. Samipya, one attains the service where one is always able to be near the Lord. That may not be possible everyone. So, in which order? Now it's not directly indicated. So, Sarupya, as far as Sarupya is concerned, see, there are also the ladies in the spiritual world described in the third canto, the consorts of the Lord Associate. So, they are not exactly Sarupya. You see? So, therefore, probably it could be in the order. I am just making a guess. I have to see some other references. Everyone in the same planet, beginning. And Sarupya. Not everyone has the same, many associates may have the same form, but not everyone. So then, similar opulences, there could be some differences. Samipya, not everyone is near to the Lord, there are some fortunate few. And Ekatva means merging the Lord, which is Brahma Jyoti, which is not considered in Vaikuntha, that is outside of Vaikuntha. Okay? So there are certain differences in all the five kinds of liberation. Fine, so we'll start with chapter 30 now and cover some verses. You can read yourself, there's an additional text in Vijay Dhattvit. I'll leave that for self-study. Chapter 30. Vidura uvacha ye tvaya vihita brahman Vaha prachina varhishah Te rudra gite naharim Siddhim apuhu pratoshakam.
Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O Brahmana, you formerly spoke about the sons of Prachinabaris and informed me that they satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting a song composed by Lord Shiva. What did they achieve in this way?
Okay, you only told me they went to form austerities, met Lord Rudra, heard Rudra Geet, and then started reciting Rudra Geet together under the water. Please continue that story. What was their attainment? Please describe, their spiritual attainment after reciting Rudra Geet and so on and so forth. Oh, because that continued and then the focus shifted to Prachinvari, their father. But now Vidura wants to hear of the left out story of the Prachetas. Actually, he wanted to hear of Prachetas long back, after the story of Dhruva. But then so many stories came in between. You see, Vidura asked about Prachetas just after completion of the story of Dhruva in chapter 9 or 10 somewhere. Check it out in, I think 10 to 23 were the, so somewhere just after the Dhruva Maharaj episode, it said, Maitreya says, thus the great sage Narada went to the sacrifice of Pracheta, assembly of Prachetas, and glorified Dhruva. Oh, who are these Prachetas? I want to hear about them. In chapter 9 or 10, which you see that? Somewhere in chapter 9 or 10, the Vidura expresses the desire to hear of Prachetas. And that story started with Rudra Geet, but again paused. It shifted to Prachin Barhishad. And now again he says, Prachetas ka kya hua? Remember the story of Prachetas. Just after the conclusion of the story of Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead and all that, what is the chapter of Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead? Which chapter? Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead? So 13 to 23 is Prathu Maharaj. So he starts narrating. At the end of chapter 12, Vidura says, narrate the story of Prachetas. End of chapter 12. Abhi 30th aa gaya. It got paused for long time. Now the story of Pracheta will finally be completed with this next two chapters, 30 and 31. You see, where is the question being asked and where is being answered? One has to keep eye over that also. Okay, so tell me the treatment of the Prachetas. Text 2, translation.
My dear
Bharahaspatya. Bharahaspatya means the disciple of Bharaspati.
My dear Bharaspatya, what did the sons of King Barishat, known as Prachetas, obtain after meeting the Lord Shiva, who is very dear to Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of liberation? Certainly they were transformed to the spiritual world, but apart from that, what did they obtain within this material world, either in this life or in other lives?
Okay. Yeah, so the same thing, that the Prachetas, they had the rare darshan and they had Lord Shiva, the spiritual master basically. And what is said about Lord Shiva? He is Kaivalya Priya Parshvavartinha. He actually bestows liberation and also is very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Or Lord Shiva bestows liberation by chanting Ram Naam or by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Lord Shiva bestows liberation. Those who take shelter of him, Lord Shiva gives liberation. So therefore he had Lord Shiva, the giver of liberation, who is very dear to the Lord, as his spiritual master. Right? So please describe, what was their attainment in this life or next life. Certainly they may have gone back to Godhead later, but intermittently, in this life what did they attain, or were there some future lives before they went back to Godhead? So I want to hear about them, the Prachetas. Describe about them. The Maitreya begins to speak. Yes.
The great sage Maitreya said, the sons of King Prachinabarhi, known as the Prachetas, underwent severe austerities within the sea water to carry out the order of their father. By chanting and repeating the mantras given by Lord Shiva, they were able to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay. So, did they carry out the austerity under the sea or under the lake? Under the sea? Actually, to the lake. But this lake was so big, it was oceanic lake. Therefore, the word uses ocean at times. Ududhav. Ududhav means a huge oceanic lake. The meaning of Ududhav here is oceanic lake, very huge lake. Okay, it was a lake, that is clarified previously by Vishwanath Thakur. It was not exactly sea, but a lake which was so vast that it seemed like sea only. So thus, carrying austerities under the water of that huge lake, they satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, who is described as Puranjana Atoshayan. The Prachetas, Puranjan No, here Puranjan refer to Supreme Lord. Now, the Supreme Lord is also Puranjan. What is the meaning of Puranjan? Puram Janayati, one who creates his body and resides in it. Okay? So the Supreme Lord also creates his body. The Supreme Lord is the ultimate cause. And he also resides along with the soul. So therefore the Supreme Lord is also Puranjan. And therefore Prabhupada says, he is the Supreme Puranjan and Jiva is the subordinate Puranjan. And the word Puranjan can apply to the Supreme Lord. The literal sense. The Lord also creates and resides in the body. Just like the word Partha indicates Arjuna, but general meaning of Partha is son of Pritha. All 5 Arjunas are Partha, all 5 Pandavas are Parthas. The literal meaning, but it may, so there is the generic meaning of a word and there is the specific meaning of a word. So therefore sometimes the word could be used in the specific meaning, sometimes in the generic meaning. So the Puranjan word here could sometimes in a generic sense applies to Supreme Lord also, but specifically in the whole allegory, Puranjan means living entity. Right? So therefore, in Sanskrit the words are not ascribed a fixed meaning, and that many times devotees become confused in reading Bhagavatam. So this word means this. How is like this? The words are not ascribed in Sanskrit. The meaning of the word can carry different meanings. Therefore we say, study the text in the context. The word in different contexts carry a different meaning. And that is also the beauty of Sanskrit language. Text 4.
At the end of 10,000 years of severe austerities performed by the Prachetas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to reward their austerities, appeared before them in his very pleasing form. This appealed to the Prachetas and satisfied the labor of their austerities.
Okay. So thus was pleased. How many years they performed the tapasya? 10,000 years within the water. And the Lord was pleased and he appeared before them in a pleasing form. Okay, close your books, notebooks for some time. Laptops. Close it for some time. Now, whenever Supreme Lord appears, Shukdev Goswami always describes his beauty. Just imagine. Shukdev always describes his beauty. He never skips that. Like I have seen sometimes that, when I joined, I would go before the deities, offer my obeisances mechanically, and quickly get up and do my other seva. And then their devotee would discuss, today the Lord is wearing very beautiful dress. I would think, kaun sa color ka dress hai? I would not even remember which color of dress it is. And they are discussing, this is the design on the dress, this is that, all that. So I realized that we should take nice darshan, what kind of design is there on the dress, what kind of color, what kind of ornaments. So at times you may just go for the deity, ting, ting, and to our, many times we do things mechanically. And for Shukdev Goswami, whenever the Lord appears, he describes the beauty of. I read it several times in Bhagavatam. Okay? Lord appearing and the description of the Lord's beauty. So now, raise your hand and describe the beauty of the Lord as Lord Vishnu appears. When the Lord Vishnu appears, how has Shukdev Goswami described his beauty previously? Please mention 1 or 2 points, each of you. Yeah, raise your hand. Yes, Prabhu. Describe the beauty. Don't quote verses. Describe the beauty. Yes. So his eyes are like lotus. His navel is like that of lotus. Then? Okay, he is wearing the garland of lotus flower. Fine. Good. Something else? Okay, good. Yes, Prabhu. He has 4 hands. He is carrying Shankh Chakra Gada Padma. That description is there. What else? Wait a minute. One by one. Yes.
So, by looking at his smile.
His smile is very enchanting. By looking at his smile, what happens?
All the
All the misery, all the shoka, all the grief vanishes by the Lord's smile. Asam harer abhinata kil lok tibra shokashru sagar vishoshanam atyudara, like that. Okay, so all the grief, lamentation is dispelled by the Lord's smile. Okay, so the beautiful smile. Yes, Prabhu, describe the beauty of the Lord.
Tribanga form of the Lord.
Not Vishnu.
Lord, when he...
Lord Vishnu stand in threefold bending form? Vishnu. I am asking Lord Vishnu.
Built-in belt.
Very, very girdle, very beautiful belt. Below the belt is Kati Vastra, a tight waistcloth. Okay, belt, waistcloth. What is the color of his dress? Who will describe?
Yellow.
Bright yellow. What else? What else? There are so many descriptions. Yes, Prabhu. Broad chest and thin waist. Right? Broad chest and thin waist. What else?
The Lord has Shiva.
Wait. Raise your hand and speak. Yes. He has a Kaustuba jewel and one thing more decorates his chest. Wait. Let him speak. Shri Vatsa, not Shamantaka. Shri Vatsa and Kaustuba. Which side of the chest is Shri Vatsa from the Lord's perspective? On his left or on his right? Left. Actually, it is on the right. Most of the devotees think it is on the left, but Shri Vatsa is on the right chest of the Lord. So, and the Kaustuba jewel is in the center, or that means slightly toward the left. So Shri Vatsa is on the right chest of the Lord. So these are the two, Shri Vatsa and Kaustuba decorates his chest, or the Shri Vatsa is described to be on the neck also at times. Okay, what else? Yes, Prabhu.
So the Lord gives darshan standing on Garuda. So
not always standing on Garuda, but he comes riding on Garuda. At times he may give darshan standing on Garuda. At times he may come down also.
I think for Prachetas.
No, I am saying generic.
Generally.
Okay, so generically when Lord comes, he comes on Garuda. Sometimes he may stand, he may float in the air, come down to the ground, or stand on Garuda. This could be there. Yes, Prabhu.
His color and this dress looks like that lightning among the...
Very good. Lighting amongst?
Cloud. Newly...
That cloud is compared to what? Cloud is compared to what? The newly formed rain. So Lord complexion is black like that of cloud, and his clothes are like lightning. But what kind of lightning? A steady lightning. This lightning is unsteady. Appears and goes away. The Lord clothes are described as steady lightning. Fine, good. There are many other descriptions. Let's hear from those who are not spoken yet. That's described in Nava Pankaj. All the beauty of the Lord is compared to lotus, different parts of the body. What else? Yes. Already described. Navel is like a lotus. Already described. Spoken.
Having Sridevi Bhudevi. Having Sridevi Bhudevi both the side.
On the chest, Sridevi Bhudevi. When the Lord appears, accompanied by his potentially described Sridevi Bhudevi. Right? Yes, Prabhu.
Curly blue thing.
The curly hair. Yes, Prabhu. Golden helmet. You have not touched on the ornaments. The golden helmet, Makara Kundala, which sometimes reflect on his shining cheeks. And there are so many beautiful necklaces, also Tulsi Mala, armlets, bangles, even the nupur, right? On the feet. What do you call that? Nupur, anklets, armlets, bracelets. So many ornaments are described. None of you touched upon that. Beautiful ornaments of the Lord.
So, Lord's feet, symbols in the last one. Symbols in the...
There are symbols of Lord's feet, which are not usually visible, because there are various symbols of the Lord's lotus feet. Yes.
His hands are touching to his knees.
His hands extend down to his knees. Yes.
Nose is raised.
A raised nose, beautiful raised nose, like flower of a sesame seed. You have to see the. His lips are red like the bimba fruit. And how is the beauty of the neck? Three lines on the neck are compared to lines on the conch shell. Beauty of stomach is compared to stomach. Also there are lines. Is compared to some leaf, banyan leaf. The beauty of the Lord's stomach is compared to that of banyan leaf. There are several lines. And does he come alone? Teeth are like jasmine buds. Or one more comparison, pomegranate seeds. And the pearl necklace is like the ducks or the swans flying in the cloud. So his body is compared to the blackish cloud. These are like a colors like a streak of lightning, and the white beads, that pearl necklace, is compared to the many white color swans flying in the sky. Like that is analogy is given. Yes, then color of the eyes, yes, like slightly color of the eyes is reddish or like the rising sun. Right? Yes, pinkish color of the eyes. In this way, and also does he come alone? Who all accompany him? Who all partials? What is the description of those who accompany him? The demigod, the Gandharva, the Apsara, the Kinna, the sages, Jai Vijay, Nanda Sunand, the Parshas also come, the Devatas also come. Some description are even the leader of Asuras also come with him when he comes for sacrifice. Especially he came at the end of Prithvi Maharaj, even there were some Daityas, the leader of Daityas and demons were also accompanying him. How come they come? Because when the president comes, even the opposition party leader also comes. Like the ruling party, MLA comes and president comes, the leader of the opposition also comes. Lord Vishnu comes for sacrifice and all that. A huge entourage, the Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Charanas, Apsaras, they all accompany him. So there is a vivid description at so many places of Lord Vishnu appearing. Okay, so now just read the next 3 verses, translation. Here is a brief description, other places there is an elaborate description.
Text 5. The personality of Godhead appearing on the shoulder of Garuda seemed like a cloud resting on the summit of the mountain known as Vaibhav. The transcendental body of the personality of Godhead was covered by attractive yellow garments, and his neck was decorated with a jewel known as Kaustava. The bodily effulgence of the Lord dissipated all the darkness of the universe.
Go ahead, read.
The Lord's face was very beautiful, and his head was decorated with a shining helmet and golden ornaments. The helmet was dazzling and was very beautifully situated on his head. The Lord had 8 arms, which each held a particular weapon. The Lord was surrounded by demigods, great sages, and other associates. These were all engaged in his service. Garuda, the carrier of the Lord, glorified the Lord with Vedic hymns by flapping his wings. Garuda appeared to be an inhabitant of the planet known as Kinnaraloka.
Okay, appeared here means the Kinnaraloka planet's inhabitants were glorifying, and Garuda also was glorifying. He joined them. So he appeared like one of them. That is the meaning. Okay, so yes. Prabhupada writes, 2nd paragraph beginning. A king is always accompanied by ministers, secretaries, commanders, and therefore Lord Vishnu is also accompanied by huge entourage. Yes, 7th.
Yes. Around the neck of the personality of Godhead hung a flower garland that reached to his knees.
And this flower garland is compared to a rainbow. There is a phenomena, there is a cloud, lightning, a duck fly in the sky, and this is like a rainbow with a 5 color. The Lord wears the garland which has 5 kind of flowers, 5 color flowers. That appears like a rainbow.
Bees hovering around.
Bees hovering around, and the tulsi also garland at times. Yes, go ahead.
His 8 stout and elongated arms were decorated with the garland, which challenged the beauty of the goddess of fortune. With a merciful glance and a voice like thunder, the Lord addressed the sons of King Prachin Varisad, who were very much surrendered unto him.
Okay, the Lord voice is always compared to the rumbling of cloud. Vaiga gambhireya vacha. Here also, Prajanyanad Rutaya. Okay, so Lord begins to speak to the sons of Prachin Varishad. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Param Pranidvam Bhadram Bho.
Param Pranidvam Bhadram Bho.
Yuyam me nipanandanaha.
Yuyam me nipanandanaha.
Sauhridena prithak dharma.
Sauhridena prithak dharma.
Dustoham sauhridena va.
Dustoham sauhridena va. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Sons of King, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationship among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me.
Okay, the Lord says, Varam Vinidvam Bhadram Va, all good fortune to you. Ask a benediction. This is the first line. Twice the Lord says, I am pleased with your Sauhridain, by your unity in devotional service, by your mutual friendship and unity in devotional service. And you have executed aprathak dharma. Aprathak dharma refers to that dharma. Aprathak means which is not a separatist dharma. The same dharma you all occupied. And it said that bhakti alone can be aprathak dharma. There is no other dharma which is not, which can be called aprathak. Because one pointed interest. In bhakti alone there is one pointed interest. In karma they are trying to compete for enjoyment. Jnanis are trying to strive for liberation, right? And so on and so forth. And they also have the motivation to be free from. So aprathak dharma means only one pointed goal, which is service to the Lord. So therefore, only around bhakti there can be unity. In all other process, they cannot be called aprathak dharmas, and therefore they cannot be actually united. Because there is selfishness. Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, they all have desires, which are separate from the interest of the Lord. Aprathak dharma means the dharma executed which is not separated from the interests of the Lord. That is aprathak dharma, with bhakti alone. All other dharmas are prathak dharmas, separated from the interest of the Lord. But so you have executed bhakti, but how you have executed bhakti? With mutual friendship, not just executed bhakti, sitting alone or... Now most of the people, I travel to various devotee communities across the world. One of the major problem is there are many great preachers, but they all are not united. They can't get along with each other. So many places. They all are doing their own preaching, great, but they're not united. They can't get along with each other. They have their own vision, their own way of acting. But those being not having unity among themselves, this is very common. So therefore the Lord first of all glorified them for executing bhakti, but more than that, for executing bhakti in unity, in loving friendship. And then Sankirtan means united kirtan, and therefore that can make greater impact. That can make greater impact. Sankirtan means united kirtan. So therefore the Lord twice says Sauhridenava, Sauhridenava. And therefore Prabhupada said toward the end, can someone recall the statement of Prabhupada in this connection, in this line?
You show your love.
You will show your love for me by how you cooperate. That means how you remain united. In order to be together, united, you have to cooperate. How you remain united. Therefore, the Lord is glorifying their unity in bhakti, which is very important. one of the great quality of Pandavas is, though they had so many, all of the 5 Pandavas were unique. They had different outlook in life, but still they remain united. So very important Siddhant. Devotees need to be trained in. There could be disagreement, and we all can disagree, but we should not be disunited. We can disagree, but you have to sit down and resolve the disagreement and act in unity. There can be disagreement, but Prabhupada says there cannot be disunity, or there should not be disunity. Disagreement should not lead to disunity. So, someone who read clear and loud, read the whole purport. Very beautiful purport.
Since the sons of King Prachina Parishad...
Take this mic and read later again, loud and clear.
Since the sons of King Prachina Parishad were all united in Krishna consciousness, the Lord was very pleased with them.
Okay, see the first statement itself. I was very pleased for what? Unity. There is unity in Krishna consciousness. Okay, go ahead.
Each and every one of the sons of King Prachina Parishad was an individual soul, but they were united in offering transcendental service to the Lord. The unity of the individual souls attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service to the Lord is real unity. In the material world, such unity is not possible. Even though people may officially unite, they all have different interests. In the United Nations, for instance, all the nations have their particular national ambitions, and consequently they cannot be united. Disunity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in a society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to their having different opinions and learning towards material things. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be 2 opinions. There is only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there is some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Those who are actually engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be disunited in any circumstance. This makes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very happy and willing to award all kinds of benediction to his devotees, as indicated in this verse. We can see that the Lord is immediately prepared to award all benedictions to the sons of King Prachina Parishad.
Okay, so you see, very, very profound purport. One of the exceptional gem-like purport. So, first of all, Prabhupada has used the word unity in this purport 8 times, leaving aside disunited. In that also the word unity is there. So I'm not counting disunity or disunited, but the word unity is described 8 times, emphasized 8 times in this purport by Prabhupada. So therefore, this is very important thing, and I would just like to mention, Prabhupada says, he said there could be disagreement. First of all, he says, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be 2 opinions. You said 2 opinions, there are so many multiple opinions, and not just 2 opinions, 100 opinions sometimes. Different individuals have different opinions. Here 2 opinion means they cannot have their opinion which is separate from the opinion of the Supreme Lord or the Guru. That means in a sense, everyone should have the opinion that we are the servant of the Lord and life is meant for his service. Basically, here the meaning of the opinion is the ultimate ambition. Here the meaning of the opinion is taken as ambition. That our ultimate goal or ambition. As Prabhupada said, there is only one goal. So there are no 2 opinions, means our ultimate goal and ambition is one. We are united by that. Detail could differ. How to serve, that could differ. If our goal is one, right, we want to serve, and still there is disagreement, that disagreement is spiritual. So there could be different ways of serving the Lord. Right? Like suppose we want to cook chapan bhog for the Lord. there could be some disagreement. Oh, we said we will cook like this. No, include some more South Indian items. Someone said include North Indian item, whatever. There's some disagreement. But that disagreement is spiritual. Why? Because both want to serve the Lord. But now, important thing is, okay, that disagreement is spiritual. Those who are actually engaged in the service of the Lord, that means those who have one opinion, those who are aligned with the Lord, cannot be disunited. So there could be disagreement, but if the motivation is to serve, the disagreement should be adjusted. And we should cooperate so that we are not disunited and continue to serve together. Therefore, Prabhupada says, adjust the cause of once there could be some quarrel or whatever may happen, but if there is motivation is pure, then we'll be able to adjust the cause of disagreement and remain united. If we are disunited, that is not pleasing to the Lord or the spiritual master. That is very important. That is only possible if the motivation is pure. Many times because there are impurity in the motivation, therefore the disagreement leads to disunity. But that is not at all pleasing to the Lord. When there is unity amongst the devotees, that makes the Lord very happy, Prabhupada is saying. Then he awards all kind of benediction, and then that particular community flourishes by the benediction of the Lord. So our bhakti individually and collectively will flourish if we have pure motivation and we remain united. So that is very important. Therefore we are Sankirtan movement. We have to remain united. And for that we have to have continuously work on purifying our motives and have one opinion, that means one goal, which is pleasing the Lord and pleasing our Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Bhakti. So we'll continue tomorrow. If you have any questions left from today, what we just discussed now, half an hour or so, you can always ask tomorrow at the beginning. Any questions? Okay. So now we have 2 more classes remaining and less than 2 chapters now.